Shalom, Israel. Thank you so much for stopping by my channel. This is Sister Kaya here. For those of you that don't know or can't remember, I'm no longer Anna, but Sister Kaya. I missed y'all very much. I went through a lot last year, and I just wanted to spend the summer with my daughter, get some things in order, so I took a break, but I am back, and let's get into this truth, baby. Before we jump into this video, I would like to give a special shout out to my brothers and sisters that are out here spreading this truth. Toda Yah for y'all, okay? Because this is very hard work. It gets frustrating. Sometimes it feels like we're wasting our breath, but we will be rewarded in the end. Let's wake up these dry bones. All right, let's get into it.
How do you know that I am asleep?
Only one who is awake can know who is asleep. The asleep person cannot know who is asleep and who is awake. I'm awake, that's why I know you are asleep. You cannot know. Perhaps I may be talking in his sleep. Perhaps you may be dreaming. You cannot be certain about me. I am absolutely certain about you. Your eyes are open, but you are asleep.
Tell me something I don't know about the destruction of Skrullos. You know everything there is to know about it, period. Name of the game is tell me something I don't know. We were overpowered by the Kree. We held them off for as long as we could. When we couldn't hold them off any longer, the million of us that were left, we fled. Interesting. Tell me something I don't know about the Skrulls that fled. They're here. Who's here? All of us. Wait. You're telling me there's a million Skrulls walking amongst us right now? Have you lost your reptilian ass mind?
Our impulses are being redirected. We are living in an artificially induced state of consciousness that resembles sleep.
Oh, goddamn hacker, that second damn night that asshole's cut in.
The movement was begun 8 months ago by a small group of scientists who discovered, quite by accident, these signals being sent through...
Things giving me a headache. Yeah, tell me about it. Us took the hackers months to figure out how to do this.
The poor and the underclass are growing. Racial justice and human rights are non-existent. They have created a repressive society, and we are their unwitting accomplices. Their intention to rule rests with the annihilation of consciousness. We have been lulled into a trance. They have made us indifferent to ourselves, to others. We are focused only on our own gain. Please understand, they are safe as long as they are not discovered. That is their primary method of survival. Keep us asleep, keep us selfish, keep us sedated.
It's God's side and the other side. Say what side you on, say why you don't like the other side, and then get to the game. And this is the age of truth, and it's up for all of them. It is all catching hell in 2024. All lies will be exposed, that's all. And anyone who takes that the wrong way, know why they take it the wrong way.
Deuteronomy 28:64. And the Lord shall scatter thee among all people, from the one end of the earth even unto the other. and there thou shalt serve other gods, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone.
This verse describes a dispersion of the Israelites among all nations, where they will serve foreign gods. For Black Americans, this mirrors the forced migration and dispersal during the transatlantic slave trade. Africans were forcibly taken from their homeland and scattered across the Americas, where they were subjected to the religious practices of their oppressors.
Psalm 83, a song or psalm of Asaph.
Keep not thou silence, O God, hold not thy peace, and be not still, O God. For lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people, and consulted against thy hidden ones. They have said,
Come, and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance.
For they have consulted together with one consent. They are confederate against thee. The tabernacles of Edom, and the Ishmaelites, of Moab, and the Hagarenes, Gebal, and Ammon, and Amalek, the Philistines with the inhabitants of Tyre. Asher also is joined with them. They have hope in the children of Lot. Selah. Do unto them as unto the Midianites, as to Sisera, as to Jabin at the brook of Kishon, which perished at Endor. They became as dung for the earth. Make their nobles like Oreb, and like Zeeb, yea, all their princes as Zebah and as Zalmunna, who said, Let us take to ourselves the houses of God in possession. O my God, make them like a wheel, as the stubble before the wind. As the fire burneth a wood, and as the flame setteth the mountains on fire, so persecute them with thy tempest, and make them afraid with thy storm. Fill their faces with shame, that they may seek thy name, O Lord. Let them be confounded and troubled forever. Yea, let them be put to shame and perish, that men may know that thou, whose name alone is Jehovah, art the Most High over all the earth.
Daddy used to say, history's a book written by the winner. And so once you understand that, you go, oh, so they're telling you a history that sets up how they want you to be. Frantz Fanon says the best colonizers always left behind the churches and the schools so that they could socialize the oppressed to the oppressor's point of view. And that one good priest could do the work of 100 soldiers. So the thing is, you got to learn to read, but then you got to read to learn. And when you really start to read your own books, and you read the biography of Malcolm, and you read the history of Ethiopia, and you understand how they beat back the Italians and were never colonized. We don't learn about that history.
White people ultimately don't need other races in order to succeed, in order to be ourselves. Absolutely not.
So how do you think America became the greatest economic nation without...
Not through black people.
Oh, it wasn't? It wasn't because of free labor?
Are you talking about slavery?
No, I'm talking about slavery and also what happened after slavery, which Douglas Blackburn talked about, slavery by another name. So I'm trying to understand, when you say didn't need it, how do you think America became the greatest economy that it did? How do you think that happened?
Through the genius of Europeans.
How was the genius of Europeans when the fact of the matter is it was actually King Cotton that supplied the economic means for America to do so? And that was a result of free labor from black people.
Look, the whole point here is that who creates these systems? Who creates these business models and businesses?
Slavery was a business model?
Well, yes, it was a business model.
I asked you again, okay? You said we don't need anybody else.
No.
But the reality is, American history proves you wrong. The fact of the matter is, there is no great America. You can't sit here and talk about that greatness without other people making that happen.
Now that we know we're Israelites, what's next? That's like the biggest question people ask. They say, I know I'm an Israelite, but how do I move forward? And a lot of times we try to move forward without actually understanding how we got here. Why are we going through what we're going through in society and in our own community? Before we move forward, let's go back and see how we got here. Deuteronomy 28. Go read that entire chapter. This is where Moses and the Israelites were in the land of Moab, and they were on their way to the promised land. And Yahuwah wanted to make a covenant with the Israelites. It was the blessings and the curses. Yahuwah told the Israelites, "Hey Israelites, if you obey me and my commandments, these blessings will fall upon you. Be the head, not the tail, the lender, not the borrower. Everything you touch shall be prosperous. However, if you disobey me and my commandments, these curses will fall upon you. You will be the tail, not the head. You will be sold as male and female slaves. These curses shall be used as a sign and wonder to the rest of the world." God kept it 100 with them up front. Israelites knew up front what would happen to them if they obeyed God, what would happen to them if they disobeyed him. They had a choice. And what did the Israelites choose to do? You read the Bible in its entirety, the Israelites consistently disobeyed the Most High. So they chose the curses. This is the root cause to why we are going through what we are going through today. Because our ancestors disobeyed the Most High.
You can't wake up if you don't fall asleep. What was that? What's happening?
You can't wake up if you don't fall asleep.
What? That's not true. Say it again.
Who cares?
You can't wake up if you don't fall asleep.
Why should
Maybe
you?
not.
Yes.
You can't wake up if you don't fall asleep.
You can't wake up if you don't fall asleep.
You can't wake up if you don't fall asleep. You can't wake up if you don't fall asleep.
You can't wake up if you don't fall asleep. You can't wake up if you don't fall asleep. You can't wake up if you don't fall asleep. You can't wake up if you don't fall asleep. You can't wake up if you don't fall asleep. You can't wake up if you don't fall asleep. You can't wake up if you don't fall asleep. You can't wake up if you don't fall asleep. You can't wake up if you don't fall asleep. You can't wake up if you don't fall asleep.
Well, why do you think that is? I mean, why is that? I mean, is it just because people are lazy today or they're bored? I mean, are we just like bored, spoiled children who've just been lying in the bathtub all day, just playing with their plastic duck, and now they're just thinking, well, what can I do?
Okay, yes, we are bored. We're all bored now. But has it ever occurred to you, Wally, that the process that creates this boredom that we see in the world now may very well be a self-perpetuating, unconscious form of brainwashing created by a world totalitarian government based on money, and that all of this is much more dangerous than one thinks, and it's not just a question of individual survival, Wally, but that somebody who's bored is asleep, and somebody who's asleep will not say no? See, I keep meeting these people. I mean, just a few days ago, I met this man whom I greatly admire. He's a Swedish physicist, Gustav Bjornstrand, and he told me that he no longer watches television, he doesn't read newspapers, and he doesn't read magazines. He's completely cut them out of his life because he really does feel that we're living in some kind of Orwellian nightmare now, and that everything that you hear now contributes to turning you into a robot. And when I was at Findhorn, I met this extraordinary English tree expert who had devoted his life to saving trees. Just got back from Washington, lobbying to save the redwoods. He's 84 years old. He always travels with a backpack because he never knows where he's going to be tomorrow. And when I met him at Findhorn, he said to me, "Where are you from?" And I said, "New York." He said, "New York, yes, that's a very interesting place. Do you know a lot of New Yorkers who keep talking about the fact that they want to leave but never do?" And I said, "Oh, yes." And he said, "Why do you think they don't leave?" I gave him different banal theories. He said, "Oh, I don't think it's that way at all." He said, "I think that New York is the new model for the new concentration camp, where the camp has been built by the inmates themselves, and the inmates are the guards, and they have this pride in this thing they've built. They've built their own prison, and so they exist in a state of schizophrenia, where they are both guards and prisoners, and as a result, they no longer have, having been lobotomized, the capacity to leave the prison they've made, or to even see it as a prison." And then he went into his pocket and he took out a seed for a tree and he said, "This is a pine tree." He put it in my hand and he said, "Escape before it's too late." See, actually for 2 or 3 years now, Chiquita and I have had this very unpleasant feeling that we really should get out. That we really should feel like Jews in Germany in the late 30s. Get out of here. Of course, the problem is where to go, because it seems quite obvious that the whole world is going in the same direction. See, I think it's quite possible that the 1960s represented the last burst of the human being before he was extinguished, and that this is the beginning of the rest of the future now, that from now on there'll simply be all these robots walking around, feeling nothing, thinking nothing, and there'll be nobody left almost to remind them that there once was a species called a human being, with feelings and thoughts, and that history and memory are right now being erased, and soon nobody will really remember that life existed on the planet.
Deuteronomy 28:48. The Lord shall bring a nation against thee from afar, from the end of the earth, as swift as the eagle flieth. A nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand.
Contact light. Okay, engine stop. ATA at a descent. Mode control both auto, descent engine command override off. Engine arm off. 13 is in. We copy you down, Eagle. Listen, Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed. Roger, Tranquility. We copy you on the ground. You got a bunch of guys.
Now they came with a different language, according to Deuteronomy 28:48. Now listen to this.
We're supposed to be doing our job, Mr. Slater. And surely that's as it should be.
Aye, aye, Captain. You leave the cargo to me. I speak their language, you might say.
Their language?
In a manner of speaking, sir. They have no proper language. No need of it. Just grunts and groans.
Okay, this is page 53. It says here, I'm going to start from the third paragraph. It says, the first object which saluted my eyes when I arrived on the coast was the sea and a slave ship which was then riding at anchor and waiting for its cargo. These filled me with astonishment, which was soon converted into terror. When I was carried on board, I was immediately handled and tossed up to see if I were sound by some of the crew. And I was now persuaded that I had gotten into a world of bad spirits and that they were going to kill me. This is what the slaves thought that the so-called white man was going to do, and he did. Okay? Mentally and physically. This is their complexions, too, differing so much from ours. Their long hair and the language they spoke, which was very different from any I had ever heard, united to conform me in this belief. Indeed, such were the horrors of my views and fears at the moment, that if 10,000 worlds had been my own, I would have freely parted with them all to have exchanged my condition with that of the meanest slave in my own country. So what is that telling you right there? That's telling you that these people he did not know, nor their language, and this is part of the prophecies that the scriptures spoke of in Deuteronomy 28, saying we will be taken by strange people, okay? And they were demonic people, all right? They were seeds of Satan.
Y'all know how the Matrix be trying to tell us the truth. Listen.
Look, see those birds? At some point, a program was written to govern them. A program was written to watch over the trees and the winds, sunrise and sunset. There are programs running all over the place. The ones doing their job, doing what they were meant to do, are invisible. You'd never even know they were here. But the other ones, well, we hear about them all the time.
I've never heard of them.
Of course you have. Every time you've heard someone say they saw a ghost or an angel. Every story you've ever heard about vampires, werewolves, or aliens is the system assimilating some program that's doing something they're not supposed to be doing.
Programs hacking programs. Why?
Well, there are reasons, but usually a program chooses exile when it faces deletion.
And why would a program be deleted?
Maybe it breaks down. Maybe a better program is created to replace it. Happens all the time. And when it does, a program can either choose to hide here or return to the source.
The machine mainframe.
Yes.
In the book of Isaiah, chapter 26, verse 3, it says, "Thou wilt keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on thee, because he trusteth in thee." The curses in Deuteronomy 28 clearly states what would happen to us if we disobeyed the Most High and did not keep his laws. Now, most of our nation and more than half of our brothers and sisters are walking around in darkness, unsure of who they are or why they are here, unsure of the persecution and the cruelty that continues to go on a daily basis. In these last days, the Most High is calling his people to wake up.
Tell you you're supposed to sleep what?
8 hours.
And so now you got how many left?
16.
And then you're supposed to work what?
8 hours.
And now you got what left?
8 hours.
You haven't cooked. You haven't got dressed. You haven't said hello to the children. Sleep deprivation. That's how they get you. Sleep deprivation. Huh? You haven't watched TV. You haven't called your mother, your children. Sleep deprivation. It's right there. That's why the rich folks, you better not try to call their house after 8 o'clock at night. They sleep. You work midnight, what they call the midnight shift?
Graveyard shift.
Graveyard. What graveyard mean what?
Yeah, the cemetery.
Death. Okay. Cemetery. Why? 90 minutes after the sun go down, your brain get recharged. After midnight, the charging stops. If you're not home by midnight, you turn into a what? The nursery rhyme. Pumpkin. Yeah. What's the only part of your body look like a pumpkin? Your head.
How did the government trick and finesse us to live how we're living now? What you mean by that? For example, right? I believe in God. I believe God gave us all this land. But how did the government make us pay for land that they don't own? Yeah, what? Yeah, what? So let's say you bought a house and you paid it off. You still have to pay the government taxes just to live in your own home. You right. And get this part. You don't even own your own car, bro. Wait. That's where you're wrong at, because I technically do own my car. I just paid it all off. No, you don't. So you pay every month to use your car. We call that insurance. You pay taxes every year to use your car. We call that tabs. Tabs is how they keep tabs on us. Exactly. So if you don't pay for the tabs every year, then they won't allow you to use your car. Dang, man, I feel like I'm being bamboozled, bro. Oh, no. It gets worse. Oh, my gosh. Let me hear more, man. Now, when we go to work, right? Before we get paid, who get paid? The government. So get this. The government takes money out of our check before we even get our check. Then we got to pay to keep our belongings and use our belongings every month. Wait. So let me get this right. If I buy a house and pay it off, I got to pay the government to keep it, or they will take it from me and sell it to someone else. If I buy a car, I have to pay the government to use it. And every time I get a job, the government will pay their sales before they pay me. Oh, it get worse? Nah, I can't even get no worse than that, bro. Oh no, get this. Now, you're supposed to pay the government to do all the natural things that you're supposed to do. What you mean by that? Like, for example, if you want to hunt, right? Something you naturally supposed to do, you got to go through the government and pay for that. And then on top of that, fruits and vegetables are supposed to be all through the world for free, right? But we allow the government to take all our fruits and vegetables to put them in grocery stores so we can pay for them. This is crazy to think about, bro. You want to get married? Go through the government. Want your kids to be educated? Go through the government. You want... I don't even want to hear no more, bro. This is just blowing my mind.
Worms shall eat them. Thou shalt have olive trees throughout all thy coasts, but thou shalt not anoint thyself with the oil, for thine olive shall cast his fruit. Thou shalt beget sons and daughters, but thou shalt not enjoy them, for they shall go into captivity. All thy trees and fruit of thy land shall the locust consume. The stranger that is within thee shall get up above thee very high, and thou shalt come down very low. He shall lend to thee, and thou shalt not lend to him. He shall be the head, and thou shalt be the tail. Moreover, all these curses shall come upon thee, and shall pursue thee, and overtake thee, till thou be destroyed, because thou hearkenest not unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to keep his commandments and his statutes, which he commanded thee.
How is it that the Republicans and Democrats can't agree on nothing, but they're going to support another people group over black people who have not gotten any substantive legislation? Then let me tell you something. These other people groups are those that support some of their white supremacist objectives. These are, when you see that both sides are overwhelmingly pushing legislation for some, it's because that people group or that entity doesn't pose a threat to them.
Listen to this, Israel. It says, "What became of the black people of Sumer?" The traveler asked the old man. For ancient records show that the people of Sumer were black. What happened to them? Ah, the old man sighed. They lost their history. So they died.
People being captured, shipped, sold, beaten, raped, experimented on. And then you have to ask the question, did the trauma continue? Yes. So 300 years of trauma, no help, freed. No help, more trauma. If it's a sustained trauma, then the impact of that is also sustained. When we look at multi-generational trauma, we're looking at people who are maybe victims of natural disasters and their families and their children and generations of folks who have experienced war. And we know that there are residual mental, emotional, traumatic impact. And what I did was I started to look at the African American experience, starting with slavery, as a real clear, long enduring trauma. I started to see that there were clear connections between that survival behavior and contemporary living in African American experience. I started to see common behaviors that I took for granted as, well, cultural. There's adaptive behaviors, survival behavior. Well, what are they? Let's just say 2019, you have a black mother and a white mother. The sons go to school together. They find themselves at a meeting. The black mother leans over to the white mother and says, "I just wanted to mention to you that I noticed that your son is really doing quite well." And the white mother's response is, "Oh, thank you." She begins to go on and on about he won the science fair, his uncle's an astronaut. She's just oozing. She realizes the black mother's son is actually excelling her son. And she says, "Well, wait a minute. Your son's the one that's really coming along." And the black mother responds, "Oh my God, he's a handful, but oh, he just works my nerves." Now, when I'm working with African American people, it doesn't matter what the audience is. It doesn't matter what class. If I were to ask, is she very proud while she's saying those denigrating things? And everybody laughs and goes, of course. There's a secret. Because everybody black knows that even though the black mother is going, "Oh my God," she's really proud. So now let's roll that scene back 300 years. And let's say this black mother is working in the fields and a white slave owner comes through and says, "Wow, that boy is really coming along." What is she gonna say? "No, he's not. He's stupid. He's shiftless. He can't work," because I don't want you to sell him. So I denigrate them to protect them. That is called appropriate adaptation when living in a hostile environment. The little white boy, say Timmy, he feels really comfortable and happy about what his mom just said about him. And Trey looks at his mom and wonders, "Why can't you be proud of me?" Because he doesn't understand the secret yet. And by the time he learns the secret, he will have already been injured by it. Post-traumatic slave syndrome.
I'm not worried about the enemy. I already know what the enemy is capable of. I expect the enemy to be as treacherous, deceitful, as dastardly as they could possibly be. They've shown time and time again what they're capable of. I'm expecting it. But the motherfucker standing next to me, to my left, to my right, would rather destroy me to please the enemy than assist me in overthrowing him.
People don't understand. Somebody got to pay for what they did to God's people. Somebody got to pay for what they did to God's chosen people. You see what I'm saying? It's like God say the sins of a father is passed down. So that means I got to repent for not just what I do, for what my forefathers did, for what my fathers did before. If I go to a restaurant and we sit down and you walk out on a bill, whoever came with you got to pay. Oh, he don't want to pay? Oh, he got to pay. But somebody got to pay the bill for what they done to God's people. Who matched the description of the bill that needs to be paid? You identify God's chosen people by what God said they're going to go through. And let's just go to Deuteronomy chapter 28. Let's start at verse 68. I encourage you to read the whole chapter, where it says, "And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships by the way wherefore I spake unto thee. Thou shalt see it no more again, and thou shalt be sold unto thy enemies for bondsmen and bondswomen, and no man shall buy you." Who fit the description to that? We already know ain't nothing new under the sun. Everything just repeating itself. We already know God said his people gonna be scattered abroad. So why would the people that's dwelling there now be the people when God said his people gonna be scattered? We already know America is the new Egypt. Why would they put pyramids on the back of their dollar? See, people like say, oh, God love everybody. God love everybody. But God said, Jacob I love, but Esau I hate. God don't love everybody. God don't love everybody. And certain people are grafted in. Certain people are grafted in by faith and by belief. But you have to understand something. God does have a people. And that's why this world gonna continue to get worse and worse and worse. You see what I'm saying? Because of the lies that's been told and by the indoctrination of trying to keep God's chosen people from knowing who they truly are. And I find it sad that we got a group of people in the world to understand this.
You versus us.
But can't you understand that we have our own history, our own culture, our own language, our own religion?
From your perspective, Mr. Desai.
No.
And it's a very narrow perspective. That's the most unfortunate part of this.
It's not a perspective. It's a real fact.
Do you care about the starving millions of African people in this country?
I care more.
Do you care about the farm workers who are being oppressed in this country? Do you care
Don't interrupt me. I say thank you. Bye. Take it where they should. Bye. Okay. And you won't dare,
Mr. Desai,
you won't dare interrupting me once more. Take away this man.
Thank you very much.
I wrote that in the book 2, chapter 9. Over 60 all-black towns, bro. Tulsa was one.
Right.
And they only want you to know about that one because that's the one they completely destroyed.
Right.
So that you would think in the future generation, if you ever step out of line and try to do that again, you're going to see exactly what happened to you. That right there. That's the first time they ever used planes, helicopter bombing planes, dropped on American soil, was on a black group of people who were successful, economically savvy, intelligent, business owners, all that. We wasn't just some niggas right there. No, we were tradesmen, we were scientists, we were bankers. We had it all. But just be mindful that there were over 60 all-black towns. We had multiple towns, multiple ones. And between 1865 and 1877, you had the Reconstruction age, went back to school, became doctors, lawyers, and all that. We reversed in a decade what they prevented us from having in 3 centuries. 3 centuries.
10 years to reverse all that shit.
10 years. So 300 years you held us down. We reversed that in 10. They're like, how the hell? No, hell no. No. If we let them continue to do this, no, they're going to take us over. So
black people are gods. They were formed by the universal prime creator from its own primordial essence. They are extensions of the prime deity's masculine and feminine aspects. Each temple or body houses both of these vital energies. Their melanin is an indication of their divinity, for it is concentrated light in a physical form. It has been termed biological living light by physicians and is the only chemical substance able to hold such magnificent and potent energy that is the black man and woman. To be clear, everything we see has some form of melanin, but the black man and woman, who are really primordial deities, have an exclusively specific kind. There are purportedly 5 known variations of melanin reported by scientific minds. It isn't ethical to compare the prime deities to all people, who many are beasts who've taken on their form through evolution and non-consensual mating. Others are shapeshifters, and all or more are simply figments of their active imaginations. When normal people dream, they create temporary images in their mind's eye that appear real and possibly are, that is, until they wake. It took energy to do that. When the soul of a deity dreams, they make temporary realms and people, or rather games and CPU players that last as long as he or she chooses to play. Awaken and rise from your perpetuating slumber, great eternal ones, and become full deities once more. Creators, operators, and destroyers of galaxies. beings who nurture life, foster transformation, and facilitate movement and magic. Rise and evolve into the divine kings and queens of the universe you are meant to be. Reclaim the world from the hands of the wicked, who are the false gods, the illusions, and the mortals. Creation has been waiting on you to rise and judge the earth. You have been in a cocoon state, undergoing pressure to surpass everything you've ever been. You will soon emerge mightier and brighter than ever before. And when you do, every matrix will fade, true life will thrive, planets will rejoice, stars will align, and the womb of space will be edified. So it is written, so shall it be, so it has been. For you are the ones.